Sunni up Radio Azad, and this is Double Shot Espresso with life coach Tasneem and Ayesha. And our topic today is anger management. It is a hot topic, as always, right here on Double Shot Espresso. So, Tasneem, we are going to start off with this and get right into it.
I think the universe was trying to teach me a lesson because just when we decided to do this topic, I had the experience of dealing with that right from last night when my WhatsApp has crashed.
Uh-oh.
And as try as may, I've been trying to fix it, but I can't. And so that's a form of frustration, which is also anger. So to begin with, I think I just want to say that anger is a very universal emotion, right? And everyone feels it at different, times of their lives for different situations. So it can be like mild frustration to fury or rage. And it's even said that boredom is also a really mild form of anger because it expresses dissatisfaction towards something that's happening in your day, in your life, or whatever the case may be.
Really?
So, the shades of anger are so many. We only look at anger from that point of view of, crazy rage or screaming, yelling, shouting.
Mm-hmm.
But anger, as we all know, and we all have experienced so many different kinds of people in our lives, that anger is expressed in so many different ways. I mean, there's the silent treatment, right? Who can ever miss that kind of anger? Or there's sarcasm. And so there are various shades of anger. Now, the surprising part of it is that such an integral emotion, human emotion, and we've not really been taught how to deal with it. Would you not agree that it's something which is, we all experience, but no school or no school of life either teaches us how to manage it skillfully. Now, if you say the word anger, what comes to mind? Is it a good emotion or a bad emotion?
Terrible emotion.
Right?
Yes.
Right off the bat,
Mm-hmm.
we think that it's a bad emotion.
Right.
But hear me out. Anger is actually, in a way, a good emotion. Why? Because, say, for example, when your body gets a fever, when your body gets a fever is not good. It's bad for you. It's, you're sick, you're ill. But the fever is a way of your body signaling to you that there's something going on and now I'm dealing with that infection. And so the body gets a fever.
It's a way to fight back.
Exactly. Now, if you just pop an aspirin and say, okay, that's it, fever, go away, the underlying condition will exist. So you'll get a quick fix. I mean, maybe you'll feel a tad better, but boom, sooner or later, that underlying infection or disease or illness may resurface. So the anger works in a very similar way. So yes, as you rightfully said, our body has that, the response of fight, flight, or freeze. So yes, anger is got to do with fight. But fight necessarily doesn't have to be with punches or like screaming, yelling, shouting. Fight can also be understanding, why am I feeling angry? What is the root cause? What's underneath all of this anger? And then, rather than simply acting upon your anger, if you see it as a symptom signaling an underlying problem that needs to be addressed, solved, healed, whatever the situation may be, you will then be able to constructively navigate through anger.
I love what you are saying, and I think one of the biggest issues that people have is that when they're trying to find that underlying issue, I think they tend to play the blame game. So I think we tend to say that we are triggered by another person. So we're not looking inwards for what the issue might be, but we are actually saying we are triggered by this person, and then we are playing the blame game. And I think we see this a lot in domestic violence situations. And talking about this issue in a domestic violence situation is extremely important, because we see it all the time about how the anger is taken out on, let's say, a spouse, right?
Right.
And then the whole situation is like, well, you made me this way, you made me react this way, you made me beat you up, or yell at you and things like that. So I think that's very important to define when we talk about the causes, and looking inward versus playing that blame game.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the whole truth of the matter is that if we all kind of really reflected, because I mean, I don't think I would come across anyone who said that I've never experienced the emotion of anger.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there are a lot of people who I know personally who have always come across as very calm. Perhaps you and I may be one of them. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, behind the
Get angry.
scenes, behind the scenes, I know I am capable of anger. But over the years, I've learned to channel my anger so that I can navigate through it better. Because, well, we all know what when you get angry, what does that achieve, right? It doesn't achieve much. So there are better ways of dealing with that anger. And I think that's exactly what we are going to explore. So many different layers of it. What is positive anger? Is there something called positive anger? And just like as you said, that on the home front, especially with domestic violence, how does that anger play out? Is there something called justifiable anger?
Mm.
When somebody treats you really, really badly in the case of domestic violence, well, are you justified to be angry then? And all of those permutations and combinations of this really, really important emotion.
All right. And our studio phone number is 972-501-9390. If you have any questions related to this issue, that is the number to call. Any comments that you would like to share, 972-501-9390. Do look us up on our podcasts, which are available on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts as well, and iHeartRadio, and of course, Amazon. And download the Radio Azad app to listen to all of our live shows. So, Tasneem, let's go on to a very, very important question. And that is, what happens if you get too angry and you're angry like all the time? Do you think that our, like Hollywood and Bollywood, they have this angry young man, they almost seem to glorify that.
Yeah.
But what happens if that
I think,
happens?
Mr. Amitabh Bachchan, he had the takya kalam of being the angry young man of Bollywood.
Yeah.
And it's true because it's considered very macho, like, kya gussa hai uska, like, kya robe hai. But I think there are so many physical and mental effects of prolonged and continual anger, which is not managed. And I think what I have seen in my experience, in my work arena, is anxiety. Anxiety is directly linked with unresolved anger towards the self or towards the other. A lot of times, I think that's another realm of anger, because a lot of us are angry with ourselves. We are not angry with another, but that unaddressed anger towards the self, towards yourself, either you blame yourself or shame yourself, and as a result you're angry about that, can also result in you removing that anger in different ways and forms. So definitely anxiety is something that I've seen. Headaches. A lot of people complain of regular, constant, consistent headaches, and I think that also has a link to anger. High blood pressure, definitely anger. Any stress related disease has also links in not having resolved your anger issues. And we all know, I mean, I think we've all heard on the internet, how do you resolve the anger? They say, bhai, breathing practice karo, or regular exercise karo, yeah, meditation karo. So what I hope to explore as we go along is different ways of doing that. Yes, all of that, definitely. We all know about that. But then what else? What more?
Okay. How do you know if you have an anger issue?
Good one. I mean, I think all of these symptoms, if you are feeling restless too much, if you are feeling uncomfortable, when you wake up, you are not happy, you're just anxious, वो एक अजीब सी एक nervousness, palpitations type of feeling होती है अंदर.
Grumpy. You're feeling
grumpy.
grumpy.
Yeah. And if you have really relationships which are not really working for you, I mean, you have a look at your friend circle. How many of you are solid friends? Or do you have relationships which are very fragile? People, keep you at an arm's length. What about your close ones, your family? Are they really happy to see you? Or are they just tolerating you because you're blood? I think these are all personal checks. And like any other emotion or like any other challenge, I would say, in life, I think personal reflection would be the answer to that. And the way I do it for myself is I always, because see, these are all emotions are all, how should I say, intangible. So it's very difficult to weigh yourself on it. Like, what's a good score? So I give myself a score. So if I say, okay, in my personal life, in terms of anger management, how much would I give myself? So in my personal life, I have my family, my close ones, the next extended family, whoever is really close to you, maybe your best friends, etc., etc. Okay, I think I'm at an 8. So any score which is 8 and above is considered to be a green zone. Because come on, that's life. Highs and lows will happen. Some days you'll lose it. You're not perfect, and that's absolutely fine. Anything which is 7 and below, there's an area for improvement. And that's the way you can work with different areas of your life where you want to check on where you are in terms of anger management.
Okay. And I think what that fine line is, जब आप अपने आप को कंट्रोल नहीं कर पाते, जब जिसे कहते हैं ना आपे से बाहर होना, where you have lost control and you have no idea what you're saying, what's coming out of your mouth, and you get those feelings of violence. You want to smack somebody or
throw something or break things or slam doors or all of those things. So I think those, again, when we talk about triggers, we will address those because we all actually, if you reflect, since we're talking about reflection, when you reflect, you'll also know what some of those, I'm not saying you'll know all your triggers. We are work in progress, but you will know what your main triggers are. And once you have noted them down, that's why I always say write, because that then becomes a solid fact when it's on paper, rather than when it's a jumble of mixed thoughts. And then if you're writing that again and again, then you'll see the trajectory and you'll realize, okay, this is coming up often. So then certainly this must be one of my main triggers. But I think identifying and reflecting on those triggers that tick you off, I think help you to actually do that check on your life. Do I really have anger issues or am I fine?
Do you?
Alhamdulillah, I don't think I have anger issues. I feel I have learned to navigate my anger. And to be honest, I from childhood, again, interesting connection, right? Like, are you born angry? Some people, yes, maybe genetically, if in your parents and in your upbringing, you've seen a very angry household, maybe you learned that emotion or learned how to play out that emotion in that way. But for me, I don't think I've been an angry child either. So alhamdulillah, yeah, I'm good, I think.
Okay. Very good. I think I, for the most part, also tend to be mostly calm.
Yes.
But I think I've had my buttons pushed on occasion. But I think I have become angrier as I've grown older.
Yeah, and very good point. I'd beg to reframe that. I think we found our voice. So what we took in our stride, or where we said chalna jane de, it's okay. Now at a certain stage and phase of life, we found our voice and we say, no, I think I'm going to speak up for myself and I'm going to be assertive. So again, aggression and assertiveness is one of the ways of dealing with anger, right? If you're feeling angry, you can aggressively tell the person off, or you can take a moment, calm down, think about it, and then go back and assertively say what you want to say and be solution oriented rather than just, making batangar out of the situation.
I think it's a very difficult issue to deal with if somebody around us has anger issues, right?
Yeah.
Because you tend to walk on eggshells around them,
Absolutely.
right? And you fear, there's a fear around that person that, oh, agar मैं कुछ कहूंगी या कहूंगा तो वो भड़क जाएंगे, right? They will take it out on me. So I think it's very important to first of all also identify, does this person have issues, right? And how do they make me feel? And I think we as a community, as a culture also saying, हमें ये बर्दाश्त करना चाहिए.
Yeah.
Right? So we'll deal with that. Let's take a caller. Radio Azad, you're on the air.
Assalamu alaikum, Ayesha and Tasneem.
Walaikum assalam, Shahida ji.
Ji, great topic.
Thank you.
So I think I'm basically not an angry person. My son just keeps telling me, Mom, I really want to see you angry. Because he said, जब से मैं छोटा हूँ, you were used to say, तुम मेरा गुस्सा नहीं तुमने भी मेरा गुस्सा नहीं देखा है. And he's like, अभी तक मैंने नहीं देखा. How do you keep yourself calm?
I think kudos to you.
Calm, लेकिन जब मुझे गुस्सा आता है तो I just separate myself from the circumstances.
Okay.
Or I just, breathe in and I just listen. Because I have seen कि गुस्से में अगर कोई दूसरा बंदा है and you do that, तो situation हमेशा जो है वो बिगड़ जाती है. And then later on you can talk about it. और मुझे गुस्सा आता है, and as you said, जैसे older you are getting older and ज़्यादा गुस्सा आता है, लेकिन Tasneem is right कि yes, you find your voice and you don't want to take all that on you also. And जब मैं, लेकिन I deal with my gussa when I'm alone. I do not do it in front of anybody. And
how do you do that? That's a very, very good point. क्योंकि जैसे बहुत लोग जो हैं वो कहते हैं कि बस गुस्सा जो है ना आप पी जाओ, लेकिन उसके बाद जो है ना आपको बहुत सारे रिग्रेट्स भी होते हैं कि काश मैंने ये कहा होता या काश मैं ये कह देती.
Right. But एक चीज जो है, like I talk to Allah about the things. The other thing, जब पीती रहती हूँ, फिर there is a time where I can't, then I take a step, then I just, discontinue myself from that person. I detach with that person. मैं उस सिचुएशन को, अपने आप को उस सिचुएशन में डालती ही नहीं. उन लोगों से मैं ताल्लुक वास्ता ही नहीं रखती. I think the only thing I can tolerate is my son. Other than that, if there is any situation, I have learned to walk away from those people who bring that emotion from inside of me, because that's not a good emotion. And I don't feel good after that. I don't feel comfortable. So I have learned over the years कि अगर मैं देखती हूँ कि there is something occurring like that, then I just walk away after trying कि उन्हें समझाने के, no, this is like this, but when the other person is just start telling you, oh, you are psycho, you are this, and you are like that, then that's how I learned that no, it is better not to just like उनके साथ ताल्लुक वास्ता ही रखना नहीं है. लेकिन बच्चों के साथ, because you have to develop a relationship. And if you get a good partner, life partner, they should be able to talk to each other as a husband and wife through the anger also. And that is very hard thing. लेकिन क्योंकि एक अगर अंदर पीता जाएगा, so it will blow up like a volcano.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Which has happened with me.
Do you think in our community, do you think in our culture, हमें ये चीजें सिखाई जाती हैं कि बस आप चुपचाप, सह लो जो भी हो रहा है, घर में, and not to speak up?
Yes.
Okay, and have you seen the effects of what it does to people?
Of course. Yes, of course, because वो होता है कि then बच्चे सफर करते हैं, the people suffer also, especially the ladies suffer because हमारे yes and हमारे कल्चर में ये है कि जब तक आदमी को गुस्सा नहीं आएगा वो आदमी नहीं है, which is not right. And उसकी वजह से और फिर हम we feel alone कि हम ही हैं जिनके साथ ऐसा हो रहा है. Nobody else is going through that.
Yeah.
But as a matter of fact, I think every other household is going through that. And we feel ashamed about sharing. And it is not gossiping. It is sharing to educate other people how to stand up for yourself. Because there is so much you can take. And then maybe the end result can be controlled. Not to get to that point where, you know, you choose your separate way.
Yeah.
And that's what I think, you know.
You are a very brave person, Shahida. Thank you so much for coming on
You're
the air.
welcome. You ladies have a great afternoon.
Thank you, Shahida.
Radio Azad, you're on the air.
Hello, Ayesha ji. Good morning. Hello, Tasneem ji. Good morning.
Hello,
Good morning.
Ritu.
Yes, I know anger management की बात हो रही है. हमारे कल्चर में, हमारी सोसाइटी में हमेशा आई नो किसी बात से अगर छोटे नाराज बड़े कुछ बोल देते हैं और छोटे नाराज भी होते हैं तो वो एक्सप्रेस नहीं कर पाते अपनी चीजें, क्योंकि उनको यही सिखाया जाता है कि बड़ों की रिस्पेक्ट करनी चाहिए, उनके आगे बोलना नहीं चाहिए. एंड बट द प्रॉब्लम इज आई थिंक तो मुझे लगता है कि कहीं ना कहीं अपनी बात हमेशा रखनी चाहिए, पर लेकिन एक बहुत अच्छे तरीके से. आई थिंक तो घर में ये सिखाना चाहिए कि हम कैसे एक्सप्रेस कर सकते हैं. दिस इज नॉट अपना जो एंगर जो गुस्सा आता है वो दिस इज नॉट द राइट वे टू एक्सप्रेस इट. हाउ यू कैन एक्सप्रेस. छोटे से छोटे बच्चे को भी आप देखेंगे कि उनको भी गुस्सा आता है, वो बहुत जोर से चिल्ला के कई बार एक्सप्रेस करते हैं, चाहे छोटा बच्चा या फिर आप टीनेजर्स को देख लो. बट जो तरीका है, you should teach them the way how can they express them. और हमेशा आई थिंक so सब ये जरूर सिखाना चाहिए कि अपनी बात जरूर कहनी चाहिए, उसके लिए स्टैंड आउट बहुत करना चाहिए. अदरवाइज आपके जो अनरिजॉल्व्ड इमोशंस होते हैं ना, फिर वो एक गुस्से की तरह निकलते हैं. और वो फिर वो एक ट्रॉमा भी बन जाते हैं जब वो रिजॉल्व नहीं होते हैं. जब आप बड़े होते जाते हो रिजॉल्व नहीं होते हैं. आप शायद बिलीव नहीं करोगे, आई वाज लाइक यूज्ड टू बी वेरी शॉर्ट टेम्पर्ड.
Really?
यस, आप मुझे कोई भी मुझे देख के बोलता नहीं है कि यस आई वाज लाइक दैट. नो आई वाज. बट यू हैव टू वर्क ऑन दैट थिंग्स, है ना, क्योंकि गुस्सा कुछ आपकी अपनी फ्रस्ट्रेशन से होता है, अपनी चीजों से होता है, अपने ही बातों से होता है. और कई बार कुछ चीजों को क्योंकि लोग आपको सुनते नहीं है, and they don't want to listen to you, they don't want to understand you. So somehow क्योंकि सही बात करने का तरीका किसी ने कभी बताया ही नहीं कि क्या तरीका होना चाहिए अपनी बात को एक्सप्रेस करने का, कम्युनिकेशन करने का क्या तरीका होना चाहिए. क्योंकि घरों में आप देखते हो, बड़ों को देखते हो, फिर बड़ों को आप देखते हो तो ऐसे तो यही तरीका है एक्सप्रेस करने का, तो छोटे भी वैसे सीख जाते हैं कि हाँ दिस इज द वे टू एक्सप्रेस.
बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट, बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट
है.
पॉइंट.
जैसे मेरे फादर बोलते हैं कि जितने प्यार से विनम्र तरीके से आप अपनी आवाज धीरे करके बोलोगे, वो आवाज सामने वाले के दिमाग में बहुत जोर से जाती है.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ritu, or loved your points.
Yes, thank you.
Wow.
So there are a few things that I think I really want to talk about. And for those who saw me drinking a little bit of water, that's because I have a bad cold and cough. So please bear with me. So the thing that you asked Shahida ji was कि आप अपने anger के साथ क्या करती हैं? And then she said that she just sits by herself and she deals with it. Now, there is a lot of research done on whether anger is a primary emotion or a secondary emotion.
Okay.
I don't want to get into all of that because for me, it is still debatable. I believe that it's a core emotion, whether it's primary or secondary. In fact, I'm leaning towards it being a primary, but fair enough. There's enough research to say it's a secondary emotion. Now, why that holds value is because if you reflect right now and think about any time that you remember that you were angry, there'll always be an underneath emotion to it. You wouldn't just say, okay, I'm angry and that's it. What's underneath that? Why are you angry? So when you're sitting with yourself, ask yourself that. When you want to deal with your anger and you want to do something positive with it and be solution oriented, that why am I angry? Okay, I'm angry because usually it is one of these three things. I'm angry because I'm hurt. I'm angry because I'm afraid or fearful. And I'm angry because I feel a sense of loss.
Okay.
And when you identify this, mostly it is one of these three or anything else, you will then go towards the problem, the underlying problem, rather than say the person that you're angry with, yourself or another. So I think this is a great way to actually go underneath your anger and figure out कि मुझे गुस्सा क्यों है. तो अगर आप अपने spouse से गुस्सा हो because वो कोई भी घर का काम नहीं करते हैं, yeah, and you're like, okay, you just sit on the couch and you're just wasting your time away and da 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 da. Now you really got nasty. Now you sat with yourself and you're figuring out कि मैं इतना गुस्सा क्यों हूँ. Maybe it's fear कि यही तो आपकी life होगी lifetime तक. Fear that you'll always be taken for granted like this. Fear that this is not the relationship that you signed up for. So then that's what you need to deal with. Rather than just kind of going ballistic on the person, you've got to then talk about these things and how important that they are to you so that you can go more towards fixing the issue rather than just getting nasty and then that's it. Another day, same story.
Okay. All right. Let's take a caller. Radio Azad, you're on the air.
Hello, good morning, ladies. How are y'all?
Good. How are you?
Good. So I'm glad I heard it at the right time. Tasneem, I heard you. And yes, I think we always talk about husbands or our spouses or anything, or we keep that anger or, that frustration, or he's not helping. I think you spoke about this topic just now, but that's not what it is, I think, only. I think the most important thing is with time and age and realization, we definitely go over the hump. So it's all time. It's all time. And, when you're younger, you did some crazy things during different phases of your life and facades and things like that. And the main beautiful thing you said is that don't build it up. Don't keep it inside, because it can be not only siblings, it can be so many different things. And families or whatever. So basically, when you talk about how do successful people control and channelize their anger, I think people channelize their anger in different ways, right? They let go, they get out of the situation, or just shift themselves from that situation. Sorry. So I think we all learn with time. I think time is the biggest thing for any situation, any kind of feeling.
So what you're saying, Arthur, help me understand. So you're saying when you were younger, we probably didn't manage that anger too well, but with age and wisdom, inshallah, comes the ability to be able to manage it better.
That is absolutely correct.
Right.
All right. Thank you.
And triggers, I think there are so many triggers. I mean, to avoid it, is there any way you can avoid these triggers? Just let it go. Get out of that situation. Again, shift away, move away. I guess that's one thing. And positive side to it, I really like this question. Is there any positive side to it?
Yeah.
So the positive side is you're taking control and you're letting the other person know that we don't want to take this bullshit. That's the time when you make it very affirmed. I love that picture that you put in of that person, because that foo-fa thing that person is doing there, the foo-fa, is really true. Because if you don't do that, then you're letting that water just, let them do, or whatever, let that X or Y or Z do this thing and let it happen. But sometimes these are important positive sides to it, to anger, to bring it to their attention that this is it. Don't think we're dumb or we don't, we also need like that anger is important for underlining certain things. So again, I definitely love that question. Is there any positive side to it? There is. And again, that same person dealing with anger is like, you can do whatever you want to get out of your anger. I'm sure everybody's smart enough.
Thank you, Aarti.
Thank you, Aarti.
Okay. I love what people are saying about communication. Okay. And I think so much of what our callers are saying is that we need to be able to communicate to the other person about what is acceptable and not acceptable. And also what Ritu called in earlier is teaching our kids to express their emotion so it doesn't come out in the form of anger.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I
Right?
think that if exactly what we started off with, where we said that we are not taught how to deal with this emotion, right? We just see probably our parents haven't gotten mad or screamed or yelled or banged a door, and we assume that that's the way to play out anger. And I think the emphasis as we as a society get more aware and wise, I think these life skills are being paid more attention to, of teaching our kids how to navigate through these emotions that we all feel, but to incorporate it at a very early age so that you become a more empowered individual as you grow up.
All right. So, Tasneem, which personality traits are linked to anger?
See, again, labeling is something I like to steer clear of, but just to generalize and for to answer the question, I would say that, anybody who has a very inflated ego, who has a sense of I is very, very strong, or a fragile ego gets hurt extremely easily. So if I had to relate to myself, I know I've been on air and I've said several times that I was extremely sensitive as a child. However, that sensitivity always extended itself into tears. So when I was very angry, also I used to always cry. Does that happen to anyone? Where you're so angry that you can't express your anger. You just break down into tears. And then you're angry with yourself because you're crying and making the person feel like, oh, I'm so sad, when you actually want to be angry.
Yeah.
So I used to feel a lot of that. So maybe a very fragile or sensitive ego also sometimes has trouble with managing their anger. A lot of entitlement, where you feel that, no, I deserve this and I deserve that. And therefore, your locus of control lies on the outside. Your locus of control is not inside. You're always thinking that, oh, your responsibility to make me feel good, or it is the environment's fault. It was just too noisy that day. There were just too many things going wrong at work that day. So I couldn't help it. I came back home grumpy. So deal with it. So I think you need to take back that locus of control to people who don't have that. Also, all of those individuals who have a low threshold for uncertainty or any kind of discomfort or ambiguity.
So like a loss of control almost.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's like a fear also of the unknown. And that sometimes can make somebody feel very restless. And then when they don't know what to do with their restlessness, and then put in a spark here and a spark there of something having gone wrong, it can very quickly catapult itself into expressed anger. Or generally not taking responsibility of the self and always thinking that somebody else needs to fix themselves because I am perfect.
Blame game.
Yes. So I think these are few of the personality traits of people that I have seen over the years who somewhere, if they have expressed this, have also had underlying anger issues. But no, it's not a proven researched consensus, but it's just an opinion.
I think people with certain personality disorders as well are very prone to anger and rages actually as well, right?
Yeah.
And it really, what you are saying, that loss of, the egos, the sensitivity, all that plays into it, that frustration, the loss of not feeling in control, and then as a result feeling frustrated about it. When people don't do what you want them to do or don't behave in a certain way, then that is one of the triggers for
Absolutely.
feeling angry.
And rightfully, as you said, the personality disorders, for sure. I mean, that's research that's out there. Like there's narcissism, there's OCD, there is bipolar, there is schizophrenia. All of these have anger as a symptom, as a way of dealing with it, as a way of expressing what they're going through. So that being said, in terms of just, you know, probably you and me, Ayesha, then I would say that probably if one of us were falling into all of this, like how I gave my example, that back then, yes, I had a very fragile sense of self. And maybe that's why I had the inability to express my anger, because if I was angry, I just cried.
Yeah. Okay. But the important thing to realize is, you know, we just take anger as anger, right? Oh, this is something we expect. This is something we accept. We expect it and we should accept it. However, when we go beyond that, when we have to look and analyze not only ourselves, but the other person as well, that what is behind that anger, as you said, right? That is where that whole element of reflection and then being able to move forward it comes in.
Absolutely.
So find out what is behind that anger, whether it's your spouse or whether it's your parent or your child or whatever it is. But that is important to get to the root of that issue. And I think this is where you said, is it a primary or a secondary emotion? So, all right, you're listening to Double Shot Espresso on Radio Azad, and also on our podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon as well. There's so much more coming up, and we will, of course, be telling you about how you're going to deal with anger issues. Lots more coming up. Stay tuned.